Welcome to Close the Door and Come Here, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast with heavy leanings towards our two favorite characters, Jaime and Brienne. Hi, I'm Clotho, and you can find me at Clotho Spindle on Blue Sky Social. And today I'm joined with Kama.
Hi, this is Kama, and you can find me at, I think it's Kama Splice on Blue Sky.
And Devin.
Hey, this is Devin. You can find me at GD Harpo on Blue Sky.
And Chicky.
Hey, I am Chicky, and I am Chicky on Blue Sky.
We're going to be discussing Jon's 8th chapter in A Dance with Dragons. All our usual warnings for any discussions of violence or rape that might come up. So we start out, Jon is sending Val off. She's on this horse, and the horse is blind, and we learn that she's going to bring Tormund and his followers back. That's the quest, and Jon kind of questions why she's being sent on the blind horse, and she's like, it doesn't matter, he's sturdy, and that she knows the forest better than all of their rangers, and she'll be back with Tormund on the first day of the full moon. I think they said the moon was like half full, so I think it sounds like maybe about 2 weeks. That sounds kind of optimistic. That's pretty amazing that she has like a specific timeline she can I don't know. Do they say how far away they think they are? They're not sure?
No. I don't know that I remember where he's supposed to be at this point.
Right.
How many rangers did Jon say he'd sent? Like 6, was it?
They got lost. Yeah, right. They lost them.
Just haven't returned. Yeah, I think it was 6.
It's wild.
6. It's 6. Yeah, I say lost in quotes. He's like, oh, they're dead.
Oh, man. So, and they sort of describe how they have to travel through, those roads beneath the wall, and they go through a few gates, and they end up finally north of the wall. And, they have a little moment here where they take some time, and she thanks Jon before she departs. But she, stops to ask him if he killed Jarl. And, I kind of had to like refresh about all that. But Jon responds that the wall did, that he didn't do it. So I guess that was sort of a question in her mind.
That was Jarl was her boyfriend, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think him and 2 other wildlings had fallen like straight down the wall. Like they were trying to, it was when Jon was with them. And
how many books ago was this? 3 books ago?
I know. So that was this is a while.
In years for us, that's about 4 years. So
yeah. Yeah. And they also discuss Gilly's son, and after some pushing, she kind of admits that she's grown fond of the baby, and she named the baby Monster. And I don't know, what do we make of that? Like the Monster nickname? Do we think it's like just kind of like a cute thing, or just a?
It definitely was because he's an incest baby to begin with.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that was the initial thought.
Oh yeah,
that makes sense, because I was also trying to figure that out. I was like, hey, why?
She's not just normal incest, right? Like, isn't Craster his father and his grandfather? I mean,
yes.
It's bad, right?
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. It's real bad.
That's bad. Oh, poor baby. So, and she also, during this conversation, she warns Jon to keep the baby away from Melisandre. She believes the Red Woman, like, she feels that she like probably knows his real identity. And she's reminding him of like Dala's warning about sorcery, which was a sword without a hilt, with no safe way to hold it. It's like that's what it is. You can't control this, so be very careful working with her, essentially. It sounds like what she's saying. And he thinks to himself, because Melisandre had her own take on that she's basically like, okay, any sword is better than empty hands. And he sort of is feeling like, well, I think she more has the right of it right here, that we have to make do with what we can. And
it's funny how in this section of the book, because I think in a couple chapters beyond this, there's going to be talk about prophecy too, in a couple more chapters. And it's funny how George is kind of hitting this in different characters' storylines, but at the same kind of point in the book about the prophecy being unreliable thing.
Yeah, it comes up a lot in Dance, like, especially with the Danny chapters and yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
honestly, I feel like about half of it is George admitting that he's retconning some of like Danny's House of the Dragon prophecies and stuff. So, anyway.
Oh, okay, so she says her farewell and, Dollar's Ed, as usual, is like, he thinks it's going to end badly, and I think there's a little joke here where John's like, "Well, that's what you always say," and he's like, "Well, I'm always right." Like, it's always things are always ending badly here. Um, so, Dollar's Ed and Molly are both there, and they're sort of sharing, like, he's like Molly's saying, like, "The men are gonna say this is wrong," and John knows, he's like, he knows they've already been gossiping about him, and they're probably saying much worse than just like little gripes about it. I think, it sounds like Molly's kind of putting it nicely here. Um,
I love how a couple times in this chapter, and this is the first time, we see John deliberately not wanting to know what the bad gossip is about him. I mean, he clearly does have an idea, but it's like him deliberately not engaging with it. And it's just like, sirens going off in the background of your mind.
And it's just so frustrating every time you get back in, like, I get back into this. I'm just like, John, just listen. And I mean, we'll get into it more later, but it's just his ultimate flaw throughout this book. Particularly these chapters here after the wildlings come through the wall. It's just,
yeah.
Somehow, I think I keep getting we keep recording I keep recording the John has management issue chapters.
You have been on a lot of these.
And I have so many thoughts, but I can hold them till we get a little further into it.
yeah, he's gonna get into the thick of it real soon here. So it's dark when he returns to his chambers. Ghost is still out hunting, and it sounds like he's out hunting more often than not, and there's less and less. Like, it sounds like they're all kind of the food supply is not the most, amazing at this point. Not abundant, basically. So they bring him, a little meal, and after his meal, Bowen Marsh, first Builder Awful Yorick, and Septon Calidor or Celador, I don't know how to pronounce it. Celador, it's funny. But they arrived to have a meeting with him. And Bowen starts off by informing him that the men are like, this is a long list of concerns, but the first one he starts in with is about his just overall kind of recent decisions. He's trying to put it generally. They're really concerned about what's going on, and John's kind of countering by asking Ethel about the status of the repairs, because Queen Celise wants to move into her husband's new seat. I think that's at the Night Fort. And he kind of segues into he's interested in getting Ethel to potentially have help repair some of the buildings. And he said, could speed up some of the work. And, Othel's like, the men are never going to agree to that. John's like into himself thinking he's secretly pleased, and he wants to learn more about the history of the giants and stuff. So he's kind of pleased in some ways, but then, I guess he's dissatisfied too to hear that they're not meshing. Everyone's not meshing here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a thing of John understanding what John is up to. And no one else. I'm not going to say he hasn't communicated what he's doing, but I just feel like once the first communication failed, he just was like, okay, well, I give up. I'm just doing what I'm doing.
What he needs to be doing is he needs to be communicating his reasoning and his decisions better to the circle of middle managers, if you will, because they can then go out to their guys and explain what's going on and sell it. And what he's doing is he's making unilateral decisions, and yes, he is in charge, but he's either communicating to entirely the wrong people as far as middle managers are concerned, but he's not communicating to them. And I think that's the big problem.
Yeah, he needs to get their buy-in on what his whole mission is here. You see him talk about it and talk about the reasons that he's doing what he's doing, like when we'll get to the Hardhome talk, where he's like, I don't want thousands of extra dead people to fight. It's obvious why we need to help people, but it's like he just gives up and just does not try. And as we've talked about before, he definitely has an element of the, I'm just a feudal lord, and so I'm going to tell you, and you're going to do what I say, and just like a misunderstanding that that's not really how the Night's Watch works.
Yeah, he doesn't allow for much discussion, and his reasoning, of course, we like makes sense, but like just have the discussion a little bit more. Even though you're going to do what you're going to do, I think it just warrants more of a discussion to, like you said, kind of like really get their buy-in. And I was even thinking like, oh, can we have this conversation with everybody?
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah, because I mean that's the thing, because they're going to go back. Everybody's going to go back and have their own take on what he said, so it's going to be this back and forth. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and the thing is, without Sam, I mean, this was happening with Sam still there,
Yeah.
but like, he needs a political mind who believes in his intent and mission here, and he just does not have it at all.
Right, because it's wild to think about. He obviously doesn't have Mormont, he doesn't have Sam, he doesn't have Aemon, like, he doesn't have all these wise, sort of, in their own ways, to things that he might not be perfectly good at right now.
I think
kind of
it's also that he was more inclined to listen to those other people, and he does not have anybody advising him.
Right,
He's
right.
lost that piece of it. Like, because I mean, some of this would be a hard sell no matter what you do, but like, sometimes what you do as a manager is you go, again, Kama talks business here. You go to your people, your reports, and you say, hey, this is our situation. And maybe if you really want, I mean, I understand, like, again, he's coming from a feudal background and he doesn't think he has to do this, but like, you're trying to, like, you present them with the situation, you hear what they have to say, and then you make a call. But like, he's not doing that. And now he did. The other thing that's just huge is he doesn't want to listen to any of the rumors that he's got all of this discontent brewing, and that's just sticking your head in the sand.
Yeah.
And it's not because people are upset because you move the water cooler 2 inches to the right. I mean, he's getting rumors that people are upset about a lot of shit. I mean, this is the stuff you need to pay attention to.
And he could probably learn from that, from the information. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, what we're talking about here is like you said, it's not moving the water cooler. This is like life and death, and tapping into like the fears and beliefs that these people were raised with since the grave, or no, the grave, the cradle. I mean, like they have always been afraid of the free folk to an extent, and or considered them to be absolute enemies. And so it's like just trying to convince them that they need to find a way to ally with them is such a hard hill to climb. And Jon is, 7 steps ahead of everyone else. I think he's right. He's right that they need to do what he's trying to do, but he's just not seeing how much he's hitting, very old prejudices and superstitions, and and then it just keeps compounding.
I know, and he's working from his experience with them, which they don't have. Like, none of them have that time that he spent with the wildlings. So he's like, I guess in his mind, he's like, okay, I've had this shift, but they don't have that to go, work off of. And now he's trying to mesh these two groups or multiple groups, because then there's different, it's not everybody in the wildlings is the same. They have their own issues too, their conflicts. So I don't know, it's like a pretty huge task.
It is. And the funniest thing about it to me is, we talk about how Jon is being kind of a revolutionary, but he does kind of have a model in Mance Rayder, because this is essentially what Mance was able to do. He managed to cobble together like a kind of unified group out of everyone who was north of the wall, who were, entirely autonomous, different groups of people. And he manages to unite them all together. And I think you see Jon, think about and even talk a little bit about what Mance was able to do. And I think he knows he needs to do it, but I think he does not understand how much charisma and, intentional, like basically team building that Mance was obviously doing. You kind of hear about it, and how Mance himself was the one who was able to pull it together. And I think Jon is just like, no, I'm just going to tell you we're going to do this and it's going to work. It's like, oh God, no, it's not.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's any, like, in this next part here, like, so he basically, the next issue is they're replacing Emmett with Leathers, as their master at arms. Like, and I wonder if like maybe like a slow, like I don't know if there would have been. I know time is kind of the essence. I don't know what they could do other, maybe like slower transitions, but you know, they're he's like there he's he tried to tell them he's now a sworn sword, he's one of your brothers, it'll be good for the recruits. And these are all good, like you're saying, these are good positive things. Like these things aren't bad that he's saying. It's just that they're not receptive to this. They feel like they've just had these people shoved in and they don't want to have to deal with it. So
think about when they're having this conversation. They're having this conversation after it's a done deal. That's a problem. Like, even if he's gonna go pull it and say, look, I'm appointing him, this is my decision. If he, like, I think at this point, the horse has left the barn as far as Bowen Marsh is concerned. But like, if he had gone to these guys and said, I know this is not going to be popular, but I've decided to appoint these people to these positions, that demonstrates they're in the know. They get a little more respect, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like it's some boots on the ground guy going, hey, why did you do this? I mean, they're learning about this controversial decision. They're talking about it after it's happened. It's a respect issue. These things are what, like, this is what get you, think about how you like to be treated, right? It's just, there's so much here that it like, honestly, I feel like I could write a management book about Jon.
That's what he needed. He needed somebody to write him. Like, I've had jobs where, like, I've had to write, like, oh, this is what you do. And, they need somebody to do that.
This is like
the new recruit.
Like, I'm visualizing, I don't know if you have ever looked at the blog or the column Ask a Manager, but I can either see Jon writing in or Bowen Marsh writing in going, what do I do? I mean, because it's like, honestly, it's like this disconnect.
Yeah, and it's what really struck me this time around more so than before is that they've said the words. Like, they are now like, they're our brothers, so why wouldn't this be like, this should be fine ultimately, as Jon's ultimate thinking. But like, to go back what you're saying, comma, is somebody new comes in at work and they're now over something that you thought maybe you were going to be over or someone else was going to be over. And this is a completely new person who's also coming from a company who's just been shitting on you for years. And you're being told, and like you said, this is happening after the fact. They are now in charge of this, and that just is what it is. And it's very easy to see why. I mean, what happens to Jon at the end of this book happens. Because regardless of them saying the words and being brothers, it's just too much too quickly.
Right.
And he's just not managing it correctly.
And like the very next section where the Septon has an objection to Satin because he says, oh, he's a whore and he's not, he's a lower, he's a lower beneath you. He should be like a higher, good birth, he calls it, higher ranking, like for Lord Commander Squire. And Jon gets angry and points out that, well, like some of the past crimes of the other Night's Watch. So that's interesting because it's like, if they are able to accept pretty much people from all over, like that have some of them pretty intense criminal histories and be okay with that, it is kind of odd that they're kind of drawing the line. But I know it's all the past prejudice, but it's a weird line to kind of, because Jon's angry, like, well, why are you ignoring their crimes? But then you're, balking at the wildlings. So
well, it's funny how Jon didn't even know some of those guys, their crimes, until he became Lord Commander and got to see
the list,
the personnel files. I guess.
Right, yeah, they gave him the list to warn him.
Yeah, he says what the old bear left some cautionary notes.
It's HR list. It's like the red flag list. Oh god.
And this was the part of the conversation when they get into talking about Satin and like all the other crimes that the other men have committed. This is the part where I feel like everyone should be hearing this in one way or another. Like, this is what Jon should be speaking to the entire group about. Just all the Night's Watch. Like, this is what it is. Field their questions and answer them in the way you're answering them here. But I just feel like it just calls for just more discussion with everybody. Because these guys are certainly not gonna do any good.
No. It's funny, in a weird way, this is kind of like the opposite of Dany's problem. Like, Dany kind of talks to everybody about everything and then kind of makes her own decisions, but Dany ends up kind of, I'm not going to say indecisive, but maybe not making the moves that she should because she's pondering a little too long. And then you have Jon who just like plows through and doesn't really talk to anybody ahead of time.
Oh gosh. All these poor kids.
I mean, they're 15, so.
Oh god. Yeah, that's gotta rile people up too. And then, so speaking of riled up, so that part, Jon kind of shuts them up and they're kind of quiet for a second, but then they immediately go into the next, like the kind of laundry list is they're not happy about the corpses in the ice cells. And again, Jon has a good point. It makes sense to study them if they do wake up. Maybe we'll learn more about the whites, but he feels like it's two of them, maybe not as huge of a risk. But obviously, under their circumstances, a lot of people are not going to be down with that. And he's another. Okay, they confront him also about Val. They were concerned about that, but then when he brings that up, like about that they're going to offer food and shelter to Tormund's people, along with fighting them back, and they are not like it's like they're getting progressively more and more upset as this goes on. You can tell that Bowen Marsh pretty much tells him like that's called. Some people might call that treason, is the term he uses, and then we get into what we talked about. You mentioned earlier about the hard home, that there's thousands, that this mother mole, and there's stories that she had led thousands of wildlings to Hardhome and they're at risk of starving. And there's some big Yarrick said there's a curse for over 600 years, and that the town, I don't know, is that because I was trying to look a little bit up at that, wasn't totally clear, but they just believe that the place is cursed and you shouldn't even go over there.
Yeah, I'm definitely a bunch of people died and the place burned because there seems to be corroborating evidence for that, but I don't know what the leading theory is for what happened here. Does anybody else? I don't know that I've ever heard what they theorize it was that happened.
Yeah. I don't know if it was just to try to I wonder if he just did that to give it a feel for like, oh, people don't want anything to do with that, but yeah, I couldn't really find anything about that. So Jon, basically, we're sort of tying it up here, and Jon reminds them that basically, if they die, they could rise again as whites and come for them. And then he's like really abrupt, and he's we get this kind of little final thing where they're all sort of like the Septon is gray faced and Othel's stiff, and Bowen Marsh is like so angry and tight lipped, and they're just like, thank you for your time, and left without another word. So that did not end well. That's the end of the chapter. So.
I will say I'm on team let's not have dead whites in the cell, but that's just me. I don't know. He's not giving them anything at all. He's not throwing them a bone at all. And we all know what's going to happen. It's not going to end well for him. It's like some of his decisions are brilliant and creative. And I think like you see what he's trying to do, and I have tremendous respect for that. But he's not. He's sort of acting like a conqueror and not like a ruler in some respects. I don't know if that is the correct analogy, but that seems to be part of the issue.
Yeah, just no collaboration, no compromise, nothing. It's just, this is what we're doing, so find a way to be fine with it. And it just doesn't work. Also, the Raven throughout this chapter, very.
Oh my God.
Right. Oh my gosh, the comments. Oh. So, did we have any mail for this chapter?
Yes, we do have a couple of pieces of mail. So first from Bucko Hair on Discord, how accurate do you think Show's Hardhome is to George's intention?
Oh God, this discussion again. I don't know. Clearly something will happen at Hardhome, but I don't see Jon ending up there in the books. I really don't understand how that happens, I guess. I don't know. Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't know. I always felt like we would only hear about Hardhome in the books. Like I I don't see how
Yeah.
we would get there. Like, who are we going with?
Unless, honestly, unless it was like Davos when he's up trying to get
Yes.
Rick on or something like that. That's the only other way I can think of anybody even being near there.
Huh.
But even that, I don't know what purpose it would serve. I feel like it's something that we'll hear about, and it will be a problem in some way that we're dealing with the fallout of.
Do they leave for Hardhome before this book is done?
I think so. I think so. I think
I feel like he sends a party to Hardhome before he dies.
he definitely sends somebody to Eastwatch to do it. He's definitely getting ships together at some
Getting them
point.
together. Okay, yeah.
Because I think he gets ships from Tycho Nestoris, right?
Isn't Cotter Pike's, isn't he at Eastwatch with the dead things in the water?
Oh.
Yes.
Him?
Yes.
Oh, right.
I think he's getting ships. I can't remember what I don't remember how he gets all the ships. I feel like he takes some from the Iron Bank. I don't remember why.
Okay,
I,
yeah, he said.
I love that I never read ahead so that I have any idea what.
But he does send Carter Pike with a fleet of 11 ships from Eastwatch to rescue the wildlings.
Okay.
He does that in, I think, chapter 10. So maybe just before he dies.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And I'm sure that will be a disaster. So
Right. Didn't go over well.
And about Hardhome, George's horror writing, like when he flipped a switch when he goes into that paragraph about Hardhome, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is chilling.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite things that we get in bits and pieces just throughout, because we're not exposed to the White Walkers and the Whites that much. It's like one of my favorite things about the opening chapter of A Game of Thrones. Oh my gosh, I just love his horror writing, and whenever he like shifts into that.
I think this is the quote from Cotter Pike: at Hardhome with 6 ships, wild seas, Blackbird lost with all hands, blah 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 blah. Sorry, very very bad here. Wildlings eating their own dead things in the woods. Bravosi captains will only take women and children on their ship. Witch women call us slavers. 8 ravens. There's a lot I'm skipping over. Dead things in the water. Send help by land. Seas wrecked by storms from hell. Yeah, it's bad.
Thanks.
Yeah, I feel like books. Anybody who goes to Hardhome, they're just done.
Yeah.
They're not getting back. We do have one more piece of mail from I Dream of Spring on Discord. I'm stopping the pod 7 minutes in to type this because it literally never occurred to me that Mira could be dead, but it totally makes sense. Just because Jojen might be resigned to his fate and go to his death quietly, it doesn't mean that Mira will stand by and just let it happen. Maybe she tried to protect him and they killed her. From a writing perspective, I wonder if it's a similar situation to the choice Lady Stoneheart gave Brienne, as in George thinks it's so obvious he didn't elaborate further in the book until people started asking what Brienne had said at cons. So we're just supposed to realize Mira and Jojen are both dead.
Yeah, I hate this, by the way. I don't even want to have this thought. I don't want to think Mira is dead.
Oh,
I don't know. Could be. That could be true.
Imagine being on the episode where we discuss that.
Oh.
Thank you for your service.
Oh God. Okay, is there any final thoughts on the chapter?
I love Val. I meant to say that at the beginning when we finished her little bit of section. I just love Val. She's one of my favorite tertiary characters, and I just really love her.
Same. I love Val. I love Jon and Val. I love how Jon and Val have that moment where they're like breathing each other's air or something. I forget how Jon puts it, but I'm like, oh God, he wants her so bad.
So bad.
Oh gosh. Okay, you could reach us at closethedoorend@gmail.com, on Tumblr at closethedoorendcomehere@tumblr.com. Submit questions to the chapter threads on the Jaime and Brienne subreddit. Follow us in Blue Sky at Close the Door and Blue Sky Social. Please like, review, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, wherever you might listen. And please support us on Patreon at Close the Door. I'm closing the door. Get out.